Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? You know, football has always absolutely loved its monsters. And when I say monsters, I'm not talking about villains. I mean those players who just seem entirely too big, way too fast, too powerful, or honestly, just too mathematically impossible to even belong on the same pitch as regular human beings. For decades, the global stage has been totally defined by these legendary figures. But today, we're going to break down the World Cup's newest phenomenon, a player who is literally rewriting the rules of what it means to be a global superstar, both on and off the pitch.
Okay, let's dive into this contrast to really get a grip on what makes him so different. Historically, you think of legends like Pelé, right? With that almost supernatural, beautiful grace. Or Lionel Messi, who spent 2 decades floating through defenders like he could see gaps in time and space that were just invisible to everyone else. But Erling Haaland, he's a completely different breed of superstar. We are talking about a massive, 6'4" powerhouse with the explosive acceleration of an Olympic sprinter and the ruthless, terrifying instincts of an apex predator. It's this raw, explosive, almost lab-created Viking warrior energy that absolutely terrifies defenders. When you watch Haaland, he doesn't really look like he's simply playing football with the other guys. Sometimes it honestly looks like he's just been released onto the pitch to wreak havoc.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the core paradox of who this guy actually is. Because physically, out on the pitch, he is that terrifying, genetically engineered Viking warrior. He's got the long blonde hair, the massive frame, that intense, unblinking stare. You'd half expect him to communicate exclusively in ancient battle cries. But the reality is so completely different. The second the final whistle blows, that terrifying warrior just vanishes. Instead, he behaves exactly like an overly excited, slightly goofy fan who somehow just wandered out of the stands and onto the grass. It's this wild, stark contrast between complete physical dominance and this wonderfully awkward humility that we really need to unpack.
So how does all this translate to the biggest stage on Earth? Well, think about the number 28. That is the monumental weight of expectations Erling Haaland was carrying on his shoulders walking into this World Cup. Norway had been completely absent from football's greatest stage for 28 long years. I mean, it's one thing to dominate at the club level, which, let's be real, he's already done, winning pretty much everything there is to win. But the World Cup, that's the ultimate proving ground. It carries the hopes of an entire nation. This is the stage where great players become historical legends. And Norway's grand return rested heavily, almost entirely, on this one man's shoulders.
And how exactly did he handle that immense pressure? 7 goals in just 4 matches. The guy hasn't just shown up at the World Cup, he has completely taken it over. These numbers catapulted him straight into the heart of the Golden Boot race, proving for sure that he belongs among the absolute elite. It's a total, undeniable takeover. But you know, numbers alone, as staggering as they are, they don't really capture the massive psychological impact he's having on the pitch and on the teams trying to stop him.
What's genuinely terrifying is how he actually hunts out there. It's so unbelievably methodical. Defenders don't just mark him, they are forced to monitor him. They're constantly checking over their shoulders, absolutely paranoid about where he might be. First, he waits. For long stretches, he might seem totally absent, just quietly drifting in the shadows between center backs. Second, he watches. He lets the game develop around him, staying just close enough to danger so the defense can never, ever relax. Third, he strikes. A midfielder lifts his head, a defender loses concentration for just a fraction of a second, a tiny gap opens up, and suddenly the enormous Norwegian is moving. And within seconds, the ball is in the net.
And man, did that patience pay off in the most spectacular way you could imagine. Norway 2, Brazil 1. Put yourself in Brazil's shoes for a second. For much of this match, the 5-time world champions actually believed they had him contained. But containing Erling Haaland is absolutely not the same thing as stopping him. He waited, he watched, and then late in the game, he struck. Not just once, but twice. He single-handedly toppled Brazil, securing a historic quarterfinal spot for Norway and turning what was already a wildly impressive tournament run into a literal national fairy tale, stuff that supporters are going to be talking about for generations. And this brilliantly illustrates that crazy duality we touched on earlier. We all know the drill with your typical modern superstar, right? Every interview sounds heavily rehearsed, every social media post is meticulously filtered through a massive marketing department, their whole public persona is completely by the book just to protect a carefully managed global brand. But Haaland? He's the likable monster. He is wonderfully unpolished. He's unexpectedly funny, a little bit awkward, and just totally genuine. He doesn't seem burdened by this overwhelming need to look cool or important all the time, and it's completely shifting what fans expect from top-tier athletes. Seriously, when the pressure is off,
the guy just lights up. He's smiling, he's laughing, he literally grabs a drum and starts beating it with his teammates. He jumps right into those massive Viking row celebrations with the Norwegian supporters in the stands. And when reporters ask him these incredibly complex, probing tactical questions, he doesn't give them some slick PR spin. Half the time, he just gives a blank stare and a flat two-word answer. He's a massive global icon who basically acts like he won a contest to be there. He seems almost amused that millions of people care so much about what he does. He's out there genuinely having fun playing football.
But hey, do not let the drum beating and the laughs fool you, because mentally, he is a terrifyingly elite competitor. And he appears to be completely immune to this psychological trap that coaches call the striker's doubt. For most elite forwards, missing a high-profile chance is totally toxic. It causes hesitation, they overthink it, they start second-guessing their natural movements, they just get trapped inside their own heads. Haaland? Completely immune. If he misses a shot, the past literally disappears. He simply resets and waits for the next opportunity. Only the next goal matters. That mental reset button, that total absence of doubt, it might actually be his greatest weapon.
You can really sum up his entire ruthless mentality with one simple, beautiful quote. Put the ball near the goal, he will try to put it inside. Football today can get endlessly complicated, right? We've got complex tactical systems, massive analytical maps of passing patterns, endless debates over possession stats, and high-pressing defensive structures. And then Erling Haaland just shows up and distills this wildly complex modern sport down to its absolute simplest, oldest truth. You don't need a massive tactical map. Just put the ball near the net, and the monster will put it in.
Now, obviously, every monster needs a stage, and Norway has built him an absolute masterpiece. We gotta give credit where it's absolutely due here. Norway's historic run isn't just a one-man show. You have Martin Odegaard providing incredible imagination and total control right there in the midfield. You've got a relentless, hard-working squad that is literally running themselves into the ground, and a highly resilient defense that just flat-out refuses to break. This entire Norwegian team is completely united by this shared belief that they are out there making history. Which brings us right to the ultimate test, the quarterfinal clash against England. I mean, come on, the narrative here is basically written like a Hollywood movie script. Haaland was actually born in England. He currently plays his club football in England. He personally knows and plays week in and week out against the very same defenders who are now going to be standing between Norway and a historic World Cup semifinal. But make absolutely no mistake, all those club friendships, all that familiarity, that's going to completely disappear the second the referee blows that whistle.
And look, England knows exactly what's coming. They're going to study hours and hours of footage. They're going to design these incredibly intricate, highly specific tactical plans just to restrict him. They might put 2, maybe even 3 defenders around him at all times. But Brazil knew all of that too, right? And they prepared just as hard, and it still wasn't enough. That is the strange, inevitable power of Erling Haaland. You can prepare perfectly. You can know exactly what he wants to do. But then you lose sight of him for 1 single second, and the ball is already in the back of the net.
Erling Haaland showed up to this tournament as one of the sport's greatest goal scorers. But, he might just leave it as something much, much bigger. He has become the face of an entire country, the undeniable star of this tournament, and without a doubt, football's most likable monster. So what do you think? Is there actually any defensive strategy left on Earth that can solve the Haaland puzzle? Or are we simply watching the rules of the game being rewritten right in front of our eyes? Let that sink in as you watch the rest of this incredible tournament unfold.